Welcome to the South Ops Fire Weather Webcast for Thursday, October 23rd. I'm your host, Kristen Stewart. Our visible satellite imagery this morning shows that the cutoff low that moved through the region yesterday has now scooted to the east into the Four Corners states. There is a lot less cloud cover over the area compared to this time yesterday, and shower activity has ended. High pressure will begin to build back in today, leading to rebounding temperatures and abundant sunshine. The forecast for the rest of this week and into the beginning of next week will continue to be a little bit topsy-turvy, but no major impacts are expected. I mentioned that high pressure will begin to build back in over California today, following yesterday's cutoff low passage. This high pressure will stick around through Friday, giving way to calm and seasonable weather, a lot like how this week started. A deep Pacific trough is expected to spread across the northern half of the West Coast this weekend, bringing back cooler, humid, and windier weather, kind of like how Wednesday was. More long-standing high pressure looks to return next week, providing a temporary end to this weather whiplash. After significant cooling yesterday, temperatures will warm back up today and Friday across the region, with valley highs returning to the mid-70s to mid-80s by Friday. This warming will bring temperatures back to near to slightly above seasonal normals. Humidity will also lower back down through Friday, with minimums dropping back to around 15 to 30% for most areas, with a return of abundant sunshine and dry weather. So the end of this week is going to look a lot like the beginning of this week did, except probably a few degrees cooler than it was on Tuesday. To go with the topsy-turvy weather trend, another round of cooling temperatures and increasing humidity is expected to return for the weekend to accompany the deep Pacific trough. Valley highs will once again lower back into the 70s, and minimum humidity will rise back above 40% for most areas. It is typically very difficult to get significant precipitation into southern and central California with Pacific troughs this early in the season, so we are not expecting a wet forecast this weekend. Significant precipitation will be likely across northern California and into the Pacific Northwest from this system, with our region remaining mostly dry. Though some light showers may spread as far south as the Sierra National Forest, but any accumulation will be minimal. Winds will remain mostly light through Friday, with localized breeziness across the higher terrain. Widespread gusty westerly winds are expected this weekend across the deserts and adjacent slopes, particularly across the Sierra, with gusts of 30 to 50 miles an hour likely, with local gusts to 60 miles an hour at times. Winds will turn northerly by Sunday night or Monday and weaken a bit, mostly affecting the higher terrain of Southern California. Thanks to the recent precipitation across the region, we are not expecting any fire weather concerns with these winds. With high pressure building back in next week, a gradual warming and drying trend is expected. Based on most forecast model outputs, the way that this weather pattern evolves is not conducive to producing significant offshore winds. For that to occur, we would need to see the exiting Pacific trough to dig southward deep into the Great Basin or desert Southwest. Instead, model outputs are suggesting that it will slide eastward across the Intermountain West, staying farther north. Forecast models are in agreement that the gradual warming and drying will be accompanied by some weak to locally moderate offshore winds. This will slightly increase fire potential as we go into next week, but we are not expecting any significant fire weather concerns. As we go further into the fall season, we will continue to monitor the forecast for any potential offshore wind events. When it comes to fuels, dead fuel moistures have been on falling trends since last week's storm, since dry weather has been prevalent. With the topsy-turvy weather this week, there will be some minor fluctuations in dead fuel moistures over the coming days. Thanks to the significant precipitation from last week, green-up is well underway across much of the region, signaling a prolonged seasonal slowing of fire danger, especially in central California. The picture is not as clear over southern California. We've had a lot of beneficial moisture, which has definitely taken some risk off the table heading into the peak of offshore wind season. However, for the first time in a while, it does look like we're moving into a prolonged, warmer and drier pattern for Southern California. So it'll be really important to monitor fuel conditions in the coming weeks to help gauge just how much potential may be left out there. The large fire threat will remain very low across the region through the weekend due to significant moisture received during the middle of October, alongside the lack of impactful fire weather this week. A longer duration of warmer and drier weather next week, along with some weak to locally moderate offshore winds, will lead to a slow increase in fire potential, especially for Southern California, which received much less precipitation recently. Though fire potential will remain low overall for the time being. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for tuning in. Our next webcast will be on Friday, October 24th. Have a fantastic day.